Alright, so the next step here on this process of building the stove is to get a nice little flat spot on here where our nipple will have a nice flat surface to screw into. So we're going to create a flat spot before we put the tap in there. That way we don't mess up the tapped hole afterwards. So I'm trying to find a piece of tape in my tape drawer. This tape is really just for a guidance, so I don't go too far. Scratch up the whole thing. It may protect it some, not very much though. Plenty of room. I just use a metal file. I think we're that far now. Gonna lay the washer on there. Actually, we're a little past that far, but that'll work good. And my height was almost perfect too, because my washer was a little bigger. And sometimes I have to cut off the edges of my washer, but this one's gonna fit right on there, so that's perfect. And while we have it on the vise, we might as well go ahead and drill it as well. But I don't have my drill set up, so I'll be right back. I like to start off by just drilling a pilot hole. With a bit that is smaller than my tap. And part of the key to this is going in straight and trying to find the center point here. And that's why I like to use a drill bit and not the tap at first, because you can get a nice center point. And my drill has a little level on top of it, which lets me guide myself in pretty straight. I actually went a little bit to the low side, so looks like I will be cutting my washer down a little bit. If I center that up, it hangs off just a hair. So since I flipped that way, I will be cutting my washer down a little bit, but I think I'll be okay with the high point on the nut. We'll find out. You want to try and stay, because that's going to glue right up against the top of it, or bottom, depending on how you go, high nipple or low nipple. I was going to go in the center, but I decided I wanted to get as much fuel in the base down and below it as possible. So I'm going to have that much room for fuel to sit in there after it sucks back out the excess fuel when you release the bottle. So I wanted to try and get as high as I could based on that. And that's why I'm going to the top. My other one that I use, it tends to suck almost all the fuel back. So, now I mentioned before, I don't know if you've seen any videos before I've done this, but I'm going to mention it again. When you do this bit here, you have to be very steady, because and this is a really lightweight aluminum, so any slip once you're in there, too fast of drilling or bending back and forth will actually strip out the threads that you just made. So to me, that's the hardest part. You're drilling really fast, and you probably can't see the bit of this. It's got a drill bit on the end of it, and it starts tapping with a thread right at that point there. And that's where it starts threading. So if you're pushing down hard to drill in, and then all of a sudden you hit and you shove it through all these threads, you've just stripped it out, and there's no way the threads will stay. So that's why I always try and go slow at first, but you got to get through that hole at first. And then once you get through, it'll thread right away. So you got to be careful how hard you're pushing on those. And there's a lot of little frayed pieces on here, but they won't get in the way too much. And that fits in there pretty nicely. It's a little tight, which is fine. I like that being a little on the tight side, because then as I'm putting it in, it will hold nice and tight. So that's it for that part. We can actually take this off of here now and loosen my vise. I'll just turn sideways so I don't know where I'm at here. Alright, there's that base. Now we're going to glue that down to the base that we found, and then we will drill our hole in the cap and glue it on there, and obviously we'll cut the plastic separate. We won't put that in the drill, because if we put that in the drill it'd probably just rip it apart. We'll cut that with a scissor. And that will be the base of our stove then, and we'll have to JB weld it all together, obviously, and let it dry overnight. So let me go ahead and work on drilling this hole. I'll be right back. Alright, drilling this cap, not the easiest thing in the world. For one, you can't really hold it. You can put it in a vise, but then you take a chance of crushing it, because it's such a flimsy piece of aluminum. If you put it in the vise, it's going to crush it. You can put it on the can, and then put it in the vise. Or you could just drill on top of the can, and then you'd have the can to hold on to. But I have to use a paddle bit, and I'm using a 3/4 inch paddle bit to drill it. Because the 3/4 inch is less than the inner diameter of this, and I want it to sit on top of this, not go over, slide over it. And this, somebody had asked me in the last video what size this was. I'm sorry, what size this was. This is a 1 inch outer diameter, 7/8 inch inner diameter, and I don't have any kind of calipers or anything, so I literally just laid it against the ruler here and said, okay, it's a 1 inch outer diameter and a 7/8 inch inner diameter. It's probably not a science. What this is, and I mentioned it before, is this is just a flagpole, aluminum flagpole that you'd find at your hardware store. So this is a little dangerous. That's why I have it all clamped off. My hands don't have to be down in there. If something slips out, I lose an aluminum lid, or I drill into a piece of wood, but my hands are nowhere near there. I'm going to put my safety goggles on in case something should flip out. I don't want to lose any eyes. It'd be horrible if I couldn't see myself anymore. This clamps up right up against the butt of it. These two are coming in a V so that it pushed back in. That took a little bit of time to set up. About a minute, not a lot of time. So I'm going to drill it out. I also set my bit here so that it can't hit my table. It can only go down to about 1/8 inch above my table, so the hole goes through the table, but the outside won't hit the table. But it's far enough down. I did it on the side over here. I have measurement by devices that I can set it to where it goes down. It's far enough, but not too far. So that's all set. So let's get drilling here and see what happens. If we lose the lid, well, Monster Bull cans are only about $3. That didn't work, did it? Alright, well, nonetheless, it's off. We've marked it. We punched holes in it, that's all we did there. We started the groove. So maybe we can get it out the rest of the way without the drill there. Yep, looks like we got lucky. It popped out. The last one wasn't so tough with that. Man, that one got a little dangerous there, didn't it? Man, we marked up my table there with the Monster Bull can. Nonetheless, I hope it still fits on. It didn't warp it out or anything. It fits on perfectly. Now we just need to cut this out. Back in a second. Alright, so I popped it back in there, the blue silicone, and I'm going to mark it with just a marker real quickly so I know what I'm cutting out. And I want to cut a little more than that because I don't want it sticking over that hole. So it's rather easy to cut these. You just use a pair of scissors. It'd be nice if I had a good pair of scissors, but I don't. So work with what I have here. Probably use them to cut aluminum one too many times. But can't use my wife's good scissors. She would not approve of that. Guess you could do this with a razor too. Sorry, I'm probably not even in the screen of the camera here, but this is really not that big of a deal. This is just cutting plastic. And it's not going to be a perfect circle. It's really, the only reason it's in here at all is it creates a seal between the lid and the base when they're screwed together. And it does a really good job of that. I guess is why Monster Cans uses it for their energy drink. And I really did a horrible job of cutting this. Didn't get on the outside of my black line at all. Let's see here. Where'd that lid go? Yeah, it looks like I need to trim it up a little bit. So I'll trim it up a little bit with a razor or something, since my scissors are horrible. And get back to you on this. Nope, those won't work. Alright. Alright, you can see I've got it all trimmed up. You can't see any blue on that side, and it is on that side. Just used a little razor and went around and trimmed it up with the razor. I guess I need a better pair of scissors. So the reason you have to be careful when you trim this is you don't want to trim past the flat line here where it comes down and gets flat, because that's actually where the bottle presses against. And you want to be able to have that pressure on that point. So if you cut too far out or if you slip, that's toast and you have to get a new lid. So that's a perfect fit in there. Looks good. Still has a little bit of pressure on it, so that's good. Now we'll just have to glue these all together now, these three pieces. Being very careful not to get any glue in our threads. I will actually take a piece of tape and put it over the inside of this before I start gluing, and a little bit of tape over the outside of it before I start gluing, so there's no JB Weld stuck in there and I can't use it. And I'll do that before I put all this on. That way if I were to have to run the tap through there again, I still could and wouldn't have to worry about it. So we're going to go ahead and get the JB Weld mixed up and put that on. Be right back. I really want to show you something here, real quick. I mentioned that I put that hole in the very bottom down there. I think I remember now why I wanted to put it in the middle last time after I did it. The actual glue has to get up against the edges right here, as you can see on these. And after I glued it last time, I had my hole so close to the bottom that I had to re-tap it. So had I put the nipple right in the center, the glues wouldn't have gotten in the way at all. So I think I'm going to end up with the same issue on this one. I put it too close to the edge, and after I glue it on this edge here, and you want to have a good bead of glue across here, so I don't want to have too much tape blocking. So I may end up getting some glue in that hole and having to re-tap it. But had I put the hole in the center, I don't think it would have been a problem. So if you're going to make one of your own of these, it might be best to place this hole in the very center of this tube. That way when you're gluing the tops and the bottoms, not getting in the way.